Are we having all the attendees?
Yeah, we can start.
Okay. A very good evening to everyone. I, Deepika Bhatia, Program Coordinator, welcome you all on behalf of Anon Global Foundation for the final presentation session of internship program. I'm sure all the interns must have had their best of efforts in these 15 days training program and has an extraordinary experience while working on their topics. I welcome our jury members, Ms. Aparna Sahai and Dr. Alka Saxena. Ms. Aparna Sahai is a retired civil servant and an activist championing the cause of gender equality, good governance, and sustainable development. She has her specialization in environment, gender, education, and governance. Currently, she is serving as Secretary Sandhan, which is Society for Study of Education and Development, a technical resource institution with pan-India presence. She is also chairman of Sara and Manthan, which is an NGO in Rajasthan involved in social action for rural advancement through natural resource management. I welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Second, we have with us is Dr. Alka Saxena. Dr. Alka Saxena is an MBBS from Lady Hardinge Medical College, New Delhi, has 25 years of experience working in health and wellness sector and educational institutions. She is an insightful learner and an avid advocate of socio-emotional well-being of children. She attended various forums to develop a deep understanding of child behavior. She is currently working as the Deputy Director, Health and Wellness, Bluebells Group of Schools, Gurugram. Welcome, ma'am. I thank the jury members for their valuable time. Now moving on. As we are aware that our team of interns was divided amongst various groups and has been allocated different topics. So today, we have Team Egalitarians with us who will be sharing their ideas, views on gender respect and sensitivity. We have the following interns with us. Drishti Jain from Odisha, Sakshi Khattar from Haryana, Arohi Jain from Uttarakhand, Dashni Juneja from Delhi. The team is mentored by Mrs. Uma Balan. Uma Balan has a science, commerce, and management background. She has worked as a system engineer and a paradigm shift in education over the years, having functioned as a head of department, headmistress, deputy director, project manager training, head training and development, and is trained as a career coach. Now I request the team to please come forward and kindly start the presentation.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. Good evening, judges and everyone present. I am Drishti Jain. I am from Team Egalitarian. Meet our forces. We have mentor Miss Uma Balan,
Good evening.
Sakshi Khattar,
Good evening, everyone.
Arohi Jain,
Good evening, everyone.
and Darshni Juneja.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Over to you, Darshni.
Today, we are presenting on the topic gender sensitization. Gender sensitizing is about changing behavior and instilling empathy into the views that we hold about our own and other genders. It helps people examining their personal attitudes and beliefs and questioning the realities they thought they know. It is interlinked with gender empowerment. Gender sensitization theories claim that modification of the behavior of teachers and parents towards children can have a causal effect on gender equality. Now, what is gender equality? Gender equality, also known as sexual equality or equality of the sexes, is the state of equal ease of access to resources and opportunities, including economic participation and decision making, and the state of valuing different behaviors, aspirations, and needs equally, regardless of gender. Women and girls represent half of the world's population and therefore also half of its potential. Gender equality, besides being a fundamental human right, is essential to achieve peaceful societies with full human potential and sustainable development. Moreover, It has been shown that empowering women spurs productivity and economic growth. Unfortunately, there is still a long way to go to achieve full equality of rights and opportunities between men and women. Therefore, it is of paramount importance to end the multiple forms of gender violence and secure equal access to quality education, health, economic resources, and participation in political life for both women and girls and men and boys. It is also essential to achieve equal opportunities in access to employment and to positions of leadership and decision making at all levels. Now, heading over to the general stereotypes. Now, what are stereotypes? A stereotype is a widely held but fixed and oversimplified image or idea of a particular type of person or thing. Now, let us see some examples of gender stereotypes. In our early years, we were told that girls should be playing with dolls and boys should play with trucks, or could be attracted to the color blue and girls should like the color pink, or boys should not wear girls' clothing, otherwise they would be made fun of. During the school years, some people believe that girls are better at reading and boys are better at math, or girls are not interested as boys in STEM subjects. Boys should engage in sports and refrain from more creative pursuits. It is believed that aggression and violence is manly. As adults, we believe women are natural nurturers and men are natural leaders, or men who spend time with family are less masculine and poor breadwinners, or women with children are less devoted to their jobs. Assertive women are believed to be unfeminine and bossy. Men have to act tough and emotionally numb to the societal norms. Over to you, Drishti.
Thank you, Darshini. I will be talking about LGBTQ, covering mainly 3 A parts: understanding nomenclature, laws and development, and third, gender sensitivity and inclusiveness. Coming to understanding the nomenclature. It is important to understand the full form of the word LGBTQ, which is an abbreviation for lesbian, queer, bisexuals, transgenders. Ma'am, I'm really sorry. There's a little spelling this wrong. It should be LGBTQ, which will be standing for lesbian, gays, bisexuals, transgenders, queer, and sometimes Q also stands for questioning. Q basically refers to those who are still identifying their identity. They are struggling to define who they are actually. Next, coming secondly, the terms such as sex, gender, sexuality is used interchangeably, and we need to understand the basic difference, and it does have a thin line of difference between the three. Sex is something which is assigned to an individual upon birth, usually based on the genitals they have. So I can, so when they say that, आपको लड़का हुआ है, आपको लड़की ही हुई है, that is what something is called as sex. When it comes to gender, gender is that what an individual affirms oneself to be. I can be a female, but I say that I feel like I am a man. Next is sexuality. Sexuality is defined as what an individual prefers in another person. I am a girl, and not necessarily I will be liking a guy. I can also like a girl. So that is what sexuality means. Coming to phobia, the third part of it. Phobia is defined as an extreme and irrational fear of an activity or a thing. Unfortunately, a large population around the world are phobic to the LGBTQ community, showing trends in either homophobic, heterophobic, lesbophobic, transphobic, and biphobic. Moving on to laws and development. Majorly, when we talk about understanding LGBTQ and the legal part of it, we have 3 main cases. In the case of NAS Foundation versus Government of NCT Delhi, the Delhi High Court declared Section 377, which talks about unnatural offenses, as unconstitutional and decriminalized it. Meaning, if 2 individuals of same gender having consensual sexual activities in private, it is no more an offense. But this judgment was overturned in the case of Suresh Kaushal versus Union of India. in 2018, the Supreme Court, the Honorable Supreme Court, in its judgment in the case of Navteej Singh Johar versus Union of India, declared Red Down 377 and decriminalized it, making it no more an offense for people to have consensual sexual activities. Now, coming to effectiveness and loopholes. This judgment, the judgment of Navteej Singh Johar versus Union of India, this judgment is one of the first steps that we have taken towards empowering the community and including them with the so-called us. The loopholes, that there are many loopholes, and we really need to understand that. As a law student, I understand what are the loopholes and why it is really important. As normal people, we have laws for marriage, adoption, but when it comes to LGBTQ community, they don't have proper laws for marriage, for adoption, and they don't have any laws where they are discriminated and they can go to. Next, very recently in 2019, there was a new act was passed, which was called Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019, which in itself has inconsistent with the objective of the act. Therefore, it is important for us to involve the members of the community while taking decisions on their behalf. Next to genderness. Moving forward, gender sensitivity and inclusiveness. Why we need it? My simple answer to this question is, we have excluded the community for so long. We discriminate between them. They were considered illegal till now. They are just 1 or 2 years legal in this country. We have always been legal. They were just 1 and 2 years legal in this country. Why is there a need to respect the community? I believe if I have to like something or if I have to respect something, I don't need to think twice about it. Mostly I have seen that whenever we see a transgender or someone who is different, we just feel that they're so different, we can't even respect them because they don't look like us, they don't talk like us. But that is not what it is. We need to respect the community and we need to change our mindset. Coming to whether universal acceptance is possible, yes, definitely it is possible. We have seen all over the world that there have been changes, and even India has started taking steps towards it. Is there a difference in acceptance in urban and rural areas? Definitely, because in rural areas, when it comes to stereotypes that are related to the communities, they are very much prevalent. First stereotype that is there, which I think that holds people from rural area to understand this, is lack of education, and the other part is that they consider this being a part of LGBTQ community a mental or physical illness, which is not so, and it can't be cured. So, and I feel if these things are not done, we will not be able to include, and we need to include them because they have been not excluded from us. So basically the society was divided as we and they, and we need to bridge the gap. Thank you. Over to you, Sakshi.
Thank you, Drishti. So today I'm going to put forward major facts and views, the gender sensitivity required in terms of prevalent pay gaps in the society. So beginning with the concept, gender wage gap is defined as a difference between the median earning of men and women, or in the other words, it considers all men and women who are under the ambit of paid employment. It also arises from the differences in the work tenures of women and men. The gender wage gap arises the gender wage gap is calculated by finding the ratio between the men's and women's median earnings, either by the full-time, year-round workers, and then taking the difference. These wage gap calculations reflect the ratio earnings for women and men across all the countries. Further, the major facts that support these pay gaps in India are, according to the Gender Gap Index in 2020, India has slipped to 112th position from the previous of 108th position in 2018. According to this report, it will take India close to 200 years to bridge the gap in areas of politics, economy, health, and education. In India especially, this gap is exacerbated by the social and structural oppressions that women have to face. The skewed sex ratio in labor participation is one of the major reasons, or the largest reasons, behind this widening gap. A survey recently conducted by the Monster.com reported that nearly 60% working women in India face discrimination at work, and over one-third women believe that they are not easily considered for top management roles. It is interesting to note that in the formal sector, the trend of the gender gap follows an upward path. That is, the gender gap widens as the years of experience increases, while the pay gap is initial in the moderate years, but it rises significantly as the year of experience and employment increases. These were the facts. Now the major terms which need a little consideration, which says a gender pay gap versus unequal pay. Now pay disparity and expansive gender gap are issues that cannot be addressed without first addressing the underlying social injustice that makes the gap possible. It is in fact important to note that the chasm exists between the perception and the work lives of men and women have significant implications, one of which is unequal pay. To understand it more precisely, gender pay gap refers to the difference between the median earning of men and women in paid employment, so that the factors that dictate the employment also needs to be considered. Whereas unequal pay refers to the comparison of the pay between women for doing the same work as done by the man with the given qualifications or the same qualifications as of man. Gender pay gap mainly arises due to the socioeconomic factors, structural discriminations, lack of leadership, training, etc. These all affect employment when it comes to women. And in unequal pay, we can say that women are paid till now 34% less than the men for performing the same job with the same qualifications. Now we have to major consider this point, that what contributes this gap in India. In a country like India, the reasons for gender gap are a little more complicated and can be linked to reasons ranging from socio-economic to structural. Girl children are sometimes kept out of school or made to drop out of school early. Even if they are educated, many women are not allowed to work by their families. After their marriages, women who join the workforce often need to take maternity leaves and childcare leaves, and even the healthcare of family members has to be considered. All these factors lead up to women as a whole falling well behind men when it comes to earning over time. And this is not only in India. We can say that gender gap persists all around the world, literally, which includes United States, the largest economy in the world. According to public information collected by the International Trade Union Confederation, the global gender pay gap ranges from 3% to 51%, with a global average of 17%. An overwhelming majority of Americans believe that gender equality exists in the United States. And if we don't speed up the pace of change, it will take 208 years to reach gender equality in the United States. This is information according to the World Economic Forum. As of some technical terms, a research by PayScale shows that statistics in two categories, the uncontrolled gender pay gap and the controlled gender pay gap. In terms of uncontrolled gender pay gap, which takes the ratio of the median earning of women and men without controlling for various compensable factors, has decreased by 0.7% since 2015. As of now, in 2020, women make only 81 cents for every dollar a man makes. When we talk about controlled gender pay gap, which controls for a job title, year of experience, industry, location, and includes all other compensable factors, has also decreased by 0.01 cents since 2015. As of now, women in control group make 0.98 cents for every $1 a man make. And it is quite astounding to accept the fact further that the gender pay gap widens for the people of color. When data are uncontrolled, women of all races and ethnic groups earn less than white men. The largest uncontrolled pay gap is for American Indians and Alaska Native women. Black or African women, as they earn 25% less than white men. For a comparison, we can say that white women earn 81 cents for every dollar a white man earns when the data are uncontrolled, and when the data are controlled, the largest gap is between the earning of Black or African American women and white men. Black women make 0.97 cents for every dollar a white man for a same qualification makes. Further, some comments on the prevailing COVID-19 considerations and the state of India in 2020 in terms of these pay gaps. As we all know that the coronavirus pandemic of 2020 has forced a large proportion of population to work remotely, with layoffs on the horizon for some occupation and industries. Women have a higher risk of suffering greater penalties in earnings as a result. Women make up larger percentage of occupations as community and social service, education, library, training, office administration support, which are more likely to be suspended, laid off, or forced to work reduced hours. Women are also more likely to have a take time off from the work or even resign, because in order to take care of their children who are no longer going to schools as well as the other family members. Hence, we can say that in 2020, women earn 81 cents for every dollar earned by men today. In other words, the median salary for men is roughly 19% higher the median salary for women. This figure represents only the 2% improvement from 2019. Let me put forward some facts and data on where the world, entire world, is in terms of these gender pay gaps. Iceland, Norway, Finland, and Sweden are the best performing countries in the world for closing the gender pay gap. So there women get power, pay, and the respect they deserve. In fact, Iceland has been the front runner on the global gender gap index for like 11 years continuously in a row. And the reason behind that is the broadly tend to value human capital and their economies. Around the world, the biggest gender gap is prevalent today in politics, but it is also the gap that's closing fastest. While there isn't a conclusive evidence as to why this is happening, the positive news is that it seems to have become increasingly acceptable to see more women in leadership positions, particularly in politics. Globally, women are still paid a lot less than men. At current rate of progress, we can say that the gender gap in Western Europe will close into 2017 approximately, but not until 2183 in East Asia, Pacific, and which are the slowest improving regions. The Global Gender Gap Report measures the gender gap in 4 areas, majorly politics, economy, education, and healthcare. Now, if we look at the graph here as presented, since the report began in 2006, the Nordic countries have frequently monopolized the top spots in the ranking, and 2020 is no such exceptions. Just below second place, Norway are Finland and Sweden. In the 5th place is Nicaragua, followed by New Zealand, Spain, Germany. The most improved countries are Albania, Ethiopia, Mexico, and Spain. The largest economy, the United States, is itself at 53rd this year, a fall of 2 places. And the world's second largest economy, China, is down to 106th position. Now the question arises that what is the World Economic Forum is doing about these gender gaps that are prevalent? So the World Economic Forum has been measuring gender gaps since 2006 in the annual Global Gender Gap Report. And this report tracks the progress towards closing gender gap on a national level. To turn these insights into concrete actions in national progress, they have developed some closing the gap accelerators model for public-private collaborations. And to prove this fact, in 2019, Egypt became the first country in the Middle East and Africa to launch the Closing the Gender Gap Accelerator. France has become the second G20 country to launch this accelerator, signaling that developed economies are also playing an important role in spreading this approach to closing the gender gap. That was all on the pay gaps across the world and in India. Over to Darshni.
Thank you, Sakshi. I will be speaking now on the gender inequality that are existing in our current education system. Boys and girls feel welcome in a safe and secure learning environment. Governments, schools, teachers, and students all have a part to play in ensuring that schools are free of violence and discrimination and provide a gender-sensitive, good quality education. To achieve this, governments can develop non-discriminatory curriculum, facilitate teacher education, and make sure sanitation facilities are adequate. Schools are responsible for addressing school-related violence and providing comprehensive health education. Teachers should follow professional norms regarding the appropriate disciplinary practices and provide unbiased instruction. And must behave in a non-violent, inclusive way. To achieve this, everyone has some responsibilities. The government should promote unbiased curriculum, regulate its policies, encourage improved sanitation facilities, and fund for gender-sensitive teacher programs. The schools should incorporate comprehensive gender education and respect regulations. The teachers should follow the professional norms and the students should behave appropriately. Inadequate sanitation facilities for girls during menstruation can have a negative effect on school attendance. Regulations requiring separate toilet facilities for boys and girls can help. School inspections play a key role in ensuring that schools adhere to regulations. Now, to facilitate gender-responsive instruction, curriculum and books should be free from gender bias and promote equality in gender relations. How students perceive themselves and how they project their role in society is shaped to some extent by what they experience at school, including by how they are represented in textbooks. Aside from the influence of official curriculum and textbooks, teacher practice in the classroom is partly shaped by the assumptions and stereotypes about gender, which in turn affects students' beliefs and learning. To be effective, teacher education and training need to be continuous to recognize the time it takes for such practices to change. They should also incorporate other stakeholders to help build a more supportive environment. Over to you, Drishti.
Thank you, Darshini. Now I will be speaking on United Nations and how in United Nations on gender equality and sensitivity. I will be covering three major areas: sustainable goal, fifth, key conventions, and international events and days. Coming to sustainable goal, fifth, as it says, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. United Nations is a key international institution which for several years have been at the forefront of promoting gender equality and safeguarding human rights. United Nations in its fifth sustainable goal talks about gender equality and identifies gender equality as an important tool for prosperity and peace globally. Coming to conventions, there are numerous conventions conventions and declarations passed by the United Nations on gender equality. And instead of all, I will be listing on two most important. First, Convention on Political Rights of Women, which was adopted in 1954. As it says, it aims at bringing a standard document related to political rights of women. Second, Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, which is abbreviated as SCEDAW. Now, everyone knows that this is one of the most important conventions that has been passed by the United Nations, and India is signatory to this convention. This convention was passed in 1979. It is regarded as a women's bill right and is considered as one of the most important documents when it comes to gender equality in relation to women. Moving on to the international days and events. The UN designates a year, week, years, decades as an occasion to celebrate and to spread awareness through the organization. Some of the days related to gender equality are following: International Day of Zero Tolerance to Female Genital Mutilation. It is celebrated on 6th of February every year to spread awareness about how female genital mutilation is a violation of fundamental right and how much it is important to stop it. There are several countries where this practice is still going on, and it is really important to stop, as it is a grave violation of an individual's fundamental right. Coming on to next, second is International Women's Day, as we all know, is celebrated on 8th of March to recognize the achievements, contributions of women all over the world without any discrimination and division. Third, International Men's Day, which is celebrated on 19th of November. This is done in order to celebrate contribution achievements of both men and boys at all levels. Fourth, International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia. The day is celebrated on 17th of May in order to raise awareness about the human rights violations of LGBTQ community and to empower people to work towards the same. And last, fifth, World AIDS Day. It is celebrated on 1st of December to raise awareness about AIDS pandemic and remembering those who died due to AIDS. Thank you. Over to you, Sakshi.
Thank you, Drishti. So now I'm gonna put forward my views on what does gender have to do with art. Art as in the societies, the culture, the cultural societies, the creative industries and everything. So quite a bit apparently it is seen that practicing women artists are still largely outnumbered by men. It is said that art is challenging for both men and women, but women need to put in more efforts dealing with politics at work and biological responsibilities as well. There is no dearth of talent, but there are fewer active women artists still. So, of all the fields, one would expect least art to harbor gender disparities. We perceive the art community as being more socially sensitive and assume that gender limitations have no room here. Dig deeper, and one finds that women don't have it easy in this field either. According to the research conducted in January-March 2018, the main gender-related challenges that the creative and cultural industries and professionals are facing are as follows. There is a visible gender gap difference in the business-related and cultural-related sectors like architecture, IT, TV, commercials, filmmaking, performing arts. These all had been considered as mostly male-dominated subsectors, whereas the museums, galleries, libraries, documentary, photo and video publishing are often dominated by women. Low gender awareness in the creative and cultural industries significantly influences the creative process. This would be the second one. At the same time, gender stereotypes have often listed as the factors that prevent women from innovations, as their ideas are perceived as less valuable and they are often not confident enough to perceive the critical feedback well. While men do not feel safe enough to talk about gender issues because it mostly contains the narrative of blaming, such indifferences could be used as an opportunity for mutual learning and enriching the work dynamics and productivity. Over to Arohi.
Thanks, Sakshi. Now we'll watch a short movie on our topic. So this was our story. Now we'll continue with our presentation. Next is the survey. We surveyed a form related to our topic, and we were able to cover 100 plus responses regarding that. Our first question is, why do women face workplace challenges that men do not typically face? And the options are as follow. First, women tend to be forced to be more flexible. Second, women are forced to manage both career and caring for children. Third, women are usually not have the same degree of education on their male co-workers. Fourth, women are more competitive with each other in the workplace as the male co-workers. And most of the answers were received for option B, which is women are forced to manage both career and caring for children. Mainly, there are four key challenges for women in a society, and that are work-life balance, equal pay, career opportunities, and harassment. Question number second, it was how have media portrayals of women challenge changed during the past decades? And our options are: first, women have been shown in a variety of body types that are representative of the general population. Second, women have been shown largely as a sexualized stereotypical characters. Third, women are being shown as a strong individualized personalities. Fourth, women have been shown in increasingly traditional roles. And most of the answers were received for option C, that is, women have been shown as strong individualized personalities. Question number third, it was, what does gender bias mean? And the options were as follow. Option 1, favoring men over women. Second, treating both gender equally. Third, favoring either of the gender. And fourth, favoring women over men. And most of the answer were received for option C, that is favoring either of the gender. Actually, gender bias is a form of unconscious bias or implicit bias which occurs when individual unconsciously attribute certain attitude and stereotypical to another person or a group of people. Next question. Fourth, it is, will gender blindness help transform the unequal structure of gender relation in a society? And our options are yes, no, partially yes, partially no, or not sure. And most of the answer was received for option A, that is yes. Yes, gender blindness help transform the unequal structure of gender relation in a society. Gender blindness is a term referred to failure to recognize that the roles and responsibilities of men and women are assigned to them in specific social, cultural, economical, and political content. Next question is: can gender bias be reduced? Inclusion of third gender in society, and the options were no, yes, only in selected issues, not sure. And most of the answer was received for option B, yes. Yes, gender bias can be reduced by inclusion of third gender in society. A third gender is it's a sex or a concept which individuals are categorized either by themselves or by the society as neither man nor woman. Next question is, nearly 41% of gay and lesbian adults face some form of hostility or harassment on the job because of their sexual orientation. What, according to you, can be the reason for this? And the options were discomfort with individuals who do not conform the stereotypical gender. Option B, that is, they lack the required skill and educational qualification. Option C, there is a lack of education to promote equal employment opportunities for men as well as for women. Option D, not sure. And most of the answer were received for option C, that is, there is a lack of education to promote equal employment opportunities for men as well as women. Next question. The Women's Sports and Fitness Foundation found that in 2013, women's sport received only 7% of coverage and shocking 0.4% of commercial sponsorship. What, according to you, can be the reason for this? And our options are: viewers want to watch sport at the highest professional standard. Option B, sponsors wants to associate with the best athlete. Option C, sponsors are less likely to promote teams or individuals who don't have the lots of medical exposure. Option D, lack of audience interest in game with women athletes. And most of the answers were received for option D, that is lack of audience interest in games with women athletes. Actually, there's a since 2007 there are 4 slams in India, that is Australian in Earth, that is Australian Open, French Open, Wimbledon, and US Open. And it is observed that these 4 slams are the slams which pay equal equal money to the male as well as the female athletes. Next question is, why do you think there is a gender pay gap? First option, because women are seen weaker than men. Second option, because women are lesser than men. Third option, because women aren't given same opportunities. Option D, because women haven't had many rights throughout history. And most of the responses were received for option C, that is because women aren't given same opportunities. Next is, according to you, in which industry is the largest pay gap? Options are film, medicines, civil services, and sports. And we receive most of the answers for option D, that is sports. The sports is the industry in which we have the largest pay gap. Next question, it was, do you think there should be men's international day as well as women's international day? And most of our answers were received yes. There should be a men's international day as well as we are having a women's international day. Our last question was, what are your thoughts regarding men's right activism? And we received most of the answers saying that there should be equal rights, there should be equal treatment given to men as well as women. All genders should be treated equally. Everyone should be considered equal, and people should avoid this feminism and men's right activism. Everyone should be treated equally. Thank you. Over to you, Drishti.
Thank you, Arohi. Now, I would like to tell my personal opinion on this topic. I don't have much to say. I just feel like previously also I had this notion, and after researching and after working on this topic, I believe that we need to change our mindset before we try to change anything. Because I feel when I see somebody who is a little different, whether it's not just about being a member of another community, even if somebody is disabled or somebody who is not looking like us, we don't have to think, whoa, how is that person so different? Is he have the same things that I have or not? So such things should not come to our mind. And I really believe that if I need respect and I want people to respect me, I have to respect the other person also. Thank you. Over to you, Sakshi.
Thank you, Drishti. So I'll also would like to add up to the whatever to the topic that is going on, and my personal opinion on this would be that we are nearly at the dawn of 2020s, and we have about like 10 years left before we need to meet our sustainable development goals. None of that would be possible unless we ensure that both women and men have equal responsibilities and equal were given equal opportunities in the economy and the society. Furthermore, we can say that we are still working on only the women and men equality that are like the women and men that are being evolved since the beginning of the history and given separate recognitions. So how can we even think of achieving true equality without considering transgenders who were recognized as others lately? So we have to work together. Therefore, I believe that gender equality can actually start with a conversation like, how do you divide unpaid labor at your home or at work? You can take actions when women on your team aren't paid well or promoted equitably. Volunteer for women political campaigns and recruit women to run the office. We can also give and donate to organizations that are making the world a more equitable place to live. And the well-being of the whole society depends on achieving this gender equality then only there will be respect for all the genders in the society as a whole. Over to you, Arohi.
Thank you, Sakshi. I would like to conclude our topic with a quote of Purnima Mane, President and CEO of Pathfield International. She once said, "A world full of empowered women isn't the where men are marginalized, it's the world where everyone strives." Thank you so much. I would like to thank Anand Global Foundation and YWCA for giving us this opportunity to learn and to inculcate and to develop new skills in ourselves, and I'm really thankful to Uma ma'am also for supporting us. Over to you, Uma ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Anand Global Foundation and YWCA, for giving me this opportunity to again have a connect with students and mentor them. So thank you so much to the team for working hard to put together the findings on this very pertinent topic. It was indeed a wonderful experience watching the team develop the life skills that will be required by them on a daily basis today and in the days to come. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Uma ma'am. May I request Alka ma'am to please share your views and ask the interns if any questions are there?
Can you just
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Can you hear me?
just stop the sharing first? We need to see the panelist.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Aarti ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank Canon Global for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this very, very knowledgeable, I would say, and a wonderful work that you are doing for the students, giving them the opportunity to explore these topics, which are of such importance to them and are going to be so important for them in the future also. So I think it's a wonderful work that you're doing, and also thank YWCA for inviting me here. So it was wonderful watching all you young, enthusiastic children. I'll still call you children because from my point of view, you were still children only. So it was wonderful to see your presentation. And I think it was a very well-researched presentation, and you've gone into various aspects of gender sensitivity, of understanding, developing your understanding of gender and the way you present it. There are points that I have which I will share when I'm asked to share, and whenever there are some questions also which I'd like to put to you. But that I'll do at a later stage. Or do you want me to ask the questions right away, Aarti ma'am?
Yes, you can, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so the first question that I have to you is that when you were given this topic, so was this a topic which was chosen by you, or was it a topic which was given to you? Anybody can answer.
Ma'am, during the good evening, ma'am. During the selection process, we were told to select 3 topics we would be like to be working on during this internship, and we had a interview session also with the team during the selection, and there we had given them the 3 main topics or the 3 major topics that we would like to be working on, and then we got divided into this topic. So
Okay.
yes, ma'am. Like one of my topics out of the 3 was gender sensitivity and inclusiveness.
Okay.
So, and because of that, yeah.
Okay. So when you were given this topic, so this question I will put to Sakshi, that when you were given this topic, so how did you divide amongst you? What was the process that you followed? And like, how did you go about choosing what subtopics to take? And how did you divide who will take which subtopic?
Oh, first of all, good evening, ma'am. So when we were given this topic, we all knew that we have a common interest in researching on this, and each one of us volunteered and come up with their own parts, their own views for views on this topic. And on the basis of that, we divided the major heads and subsections that are to be included. And since Drishti said that she's a law student, so she entered into some law, certain laws pertaining to the gender sensitivity. And I'm being an economic student, so I researched on the pay gaps done by the World Economic Forums and so on. Since Arohi was good with all surveys things, so she picked up that. And this way we divided the sections and collected the material and presented it.
Okay, wonderful. So you people took your strengths into consideration and
Exactly.
then contributed to the topic. That's a wonderful way, I would say, definitely.
And yes,
Okay.
ma'am, Darshini as well. She was really good at movie making, and that presentation was entirely being done by Darshini. So we all contributed equally into this and came up.
Okay, 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 Darshini. Then my next question is to you. So when you when you were preparing or going through this internship, it was a 15-day internship, right? What was the kind of coordination that you did with each other, and what were the challenges that you faced?
Good evening, ma'am. So, ma'am, there wasn't much disparity. Like, there was good team coordination. A little time here and there was like it was there, but we learned good team coordination. We learned to manage our time and created good network connections by sending out our forms and did a good research, gain more knowledge on this. So there wasn't much disparity faced like between us. Like we are very comfortable in conversing with each other now.
Okay, okay, wonderful. Okay, so okay, I think you have very beautifully covered many things related to gender. So, okay, my question to you, Arohi, now is that what do you understand by gender mainstreaming?
Sorry, ma'am.
What do you understand by gender mainstreaming?
Ma'am, it's just like we should never differentiate between women and men. Men and women should be treated the rights which men are. Only women should have those rights, or the men should have those rights. Both should be treated equally as men as well as women.
Okay, okay, thank you, Arohi. Okay, thank you,
Thank you so
children. Thank you so much, Aarti ma'am. Would you like me to share some of my observations also? Okay, so whereas I saw you people, putting in, choosing your subtopics based on your own expertise and your own strength areas. What I would have, also would like you to incorporate in your presentations is that you bring in a flow there, which I found a little missing. Like whenever you're going, all of you had well researched your topics and had also prepared them well. But whereas as a team, when you go from one topic to another, how do you make the flow? And how do you make a, how do you link one subtopic to another? This is one thing that I felt that if you had integrated that, that also would have better looked more as a teamwork, whereas each one of you was presenting your part very well, but what I found missing was the flow there. And another thing which I would say is always include the sources that you have used for your research. So had you given those researches, that would have added more value and also more authenticity to your presentation. So thank you very much.
Aparna ma'am.
First of all, I would congratulate Ms. Uma Balan for mentoring these young ladies. on a very difficult subject. In fact, difficult, I would say it is unfamiliar, because you wrote gender respect, which basically comes in Abrahamic religions, in Islam and in Christianity. Maybe gender equality or gender as a topic would have been easier for the participants. Nevertheless, you covered a broad spectrum. And I was wondering that whether it is going to be only men and women, girls and boys, but you took into account the third gender also, LGBTQ community, which was very good, because whether or not you've been able to work much, research much, but I think you are sensitized about it. When you read the news item that there is a member of Legislative Assembly who is a transgender, then I think your antennas will rise. So anyway, when I said, you started very well, that gender is a social construct. You know, the boys are born, girls are born. You know, except for the sex organs, there's no other difference. They have the same eyes, same ears, same nose, same hands. I mean, all capabilities would be the same. But these gender constructs are given. These norms, the behaviors, you know, what to do, what not to do, the colors, all these things are there. And when we talk of gender inequality, we see that the female gender, the girls and women, they are at a receiving end. And especially in our country's context, one of you is also a law student. And I think first thing you should refer to is what is written in our constitution. Our constitution does not discriminate on the basis of sex, caste, creed, religion, belief, whatever. So as far as law of the land is concerned, देश का सबसे ऊंचा कानून जो है वो लड़कों में, लड़कियों में, महिलाओं में, पुरुषों में कोई अंतर नहीं करता. लेकिन लड़की होते ही दुख हो जाता है. लड़की होते ही माँ को न्यूट्रिशन पूरा नहीं देते. लड़की होते ही वो पूरा का पूरा घर लेबल हो जाता है. बल्कि लड़की होने की बात नहीं, आपने स्टेजेस की जब बात की है कि अर्ली इयर्स में क्या होता है, आई वुड से बिफोर बर्थ क्या होता है. आप लोगों ने सुना होगा प्री नेटल सेक्स डिटर्मिनेशन टेस्ट. आप लोगों ने सेक्स रेशियो की बात नहीं की. देयर इज वन गर्ल हियर फ्रॉम हरियाणा आल्सो. हरियाणा में मेल फीमेल सेक्स रेशियो जो है उसमें कितना अंतर है, 808. हाँ, इवन माय स्टेट राजस्थान, हम लोगों ने बहुत सारा ग्लोबल पर्सपेक्टिव आप लोग लेकर के चले हैं, पर हम बच्चों का सेक्स रेशियो है उससे डिटर्मिन करें उसको. कितने केसेस ऐसे होते हैं, कितने क्लिनिक्स ऐसे होते हैं जहां पर प्रीनेटल सेक्स डिटर्मिनेशन टेस्ट होता है, डिस्पाइट द फैक्ट दैट देयर इज अ लॉ एंड देयर इज अ वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग पेनल्टी फॉर दैट. So before birth it starts, there is a huge son preference. So this is a mindset. One of you said that we have to change the mindset, but then we have to go. I'm sorry, मैं क्लास तो नहीं ले रही हूँ, पर मैं थोड़ा सा इसके बारे में थोड़ी सी बात करना चाहती हूँ कि ये जो जेंडर डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, जेंडर इनइक्वालिटी है, वो बर्थ से पहले ही शुरू हो जाती है और फिर ये कंटिन्यू चलती रहती है. बच्चे होते हैं, you will, if you research a little more, you go to a hospital. सेकेंड वैक्सीनेशन के लिए कितनी लड़कियां आ रही हैं. देयर इज इवन अ ड्रॉप आउट. हरियाणा, दिल्ली, 66% लेस सेकेंड वैक्सीनेशन कंप्लीट नहीं करवाया जाता है. और फिर हेल्थ न्यूट्रिशन की बात हो जाती है. स्कूल के लिए एनरोलमेंट में भी 100% हो जाता है, बट ड्रॉप आउट रेट ऑफ गर्ल्स इज वेरी हाई. सो व्हेन वी कम टू दीज सोशल इंडिकेटर्स, स्कूल में आपका नॉमिनेशन एनरोलमेंट हो गया, लेकिन उसके बाद में प्राइमरी तक नहीं पहुंच पाते. क्रूअल्टी बच्चों के साथ में बहुत होती है, और घर में ही नहीं होती. क्रूअल्टी पॉक्सो एक्ट के बारे में आप लोगों ने बात नहीं की अभी, पर और मे बी आई मीन इट वाज इन वन ऑफ द स्लाइड्स. दिस सो मच क्राइम अगेंस्ट गर्ल्स, यंग गर्ल्स, चाहे वो 6 महीने की हो या 11 साल की हो, इस तरह की जो चीजें हैं. तो हम लोगों को जो ध्यान में देने वाली चीज है वो ये कि हमारे आसपास क्या हो रहा है, हमारे आसपास किस प्रकार का डिस्क्रिमिनेशन हो रहा है, what are the policies and what are we doing about it. I mean, we are signatories to CEDAW, Convention on Elimination of All Kinds of Violence Against Women. हम लोग कन्वेंशन ऑन चाइल्ड राइट्स जो है उसके भी सिग्नेटरी हैं, और हमारे अचीवमेंट्स भी बहुत हैं. और हमारे यहाँ पर एक बहुत बड़ा आंदोलन चल रहा है, बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ जो है उसको लेकर के. इसके अलावा फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन के लिए जनधन योजना है, जिसके लिए अकेले महिलाओं के लिए अकाउंट 0 बैलेंस के साथ में खोला। देयर इज ऑल्सो सुकन्या समृद्धि योजना, जिसमें पिछले 4 साल में अबाउट 1 लाख करोड़ के करीब पैसा जमा हुआ है, और जिसमें ये कि 18 साल की बच्ची जब तक होगी तो उसके अकाउंट में उसको रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट जो है वो 12.5% तक मिलेगी, अगर वो 6 महीने की एज में शुरू कर दिया जाता है। तो मेरा कहना आपसे ये है कि जेंडर कंस्ट्रक्ट को हम समझें, वो फैमिली से शुरू होता है, हमारे दिमाग से शुरू होता है, स्कूल में अगर जाता है, लड़कों में अगर है, तो स्पोर्ट्स की आपने बात की, मैं यही कहती हूँ कि लड़कियों के बारे में मोस्ट ऑफ यू आर फ्रॉम द अर्बन एरियाज, रूरल और अर्बन में भी स्टीरियोटाइप्स अलग तरीके के हो जाते हैं। रूरल एरियाज में देयर आर स्कीम्स व्हिच आर फैंटास्टिक, यू नो, फॉर गर्ल्स देयर इज कस्तूरबा गांधी बालिका विद्यालय योजना, जो कि रेजिडेंशियल स्कूल्स हैं, और SC, ST, OBC माइनॉरिटीज की लड़कियों के लिए हैं, डिसएडवांटेज कम्युनिटी के लिए हैं। ये लड़कियां पढ़ने में बहुत अच्छी हैं, लेकिन वो अपने हॉस्टल से बाहर निकलती हैं तो उनको ये लगता है कि हमें डर लगता है क्योंकि लड़के खड़े हुए हैं। सो इट इज ऑल्सो देयर सेल्फ इमेज, देयर सेल्फ परसेप्शन, देयर कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल। सो as young girls they feel that, and then there is a major problem of marriage. You know, we are amongst the worst 20 countries of the world, और उसमें हमारा 11वां स्थान है। लेकिन अगर एब्सोल्यूट नंबर्स में देखा जाए तो पिछले साल हमारे देश में 1,85,00,000 लड़कियों की शादी हुई थी, और उनमें से 16% ऐसी 26% ऐसी लड़कियां हैं जिनके 16 साल से पहले की उम्र में ही बच्चे हो जाते हैं। सो उनका वो जो BMI है, उनकी हेल्थ है, उनकी डेथ है, उसमें इन्फेंट मोर्टेलिटी रेट भी आ जाती है, उसमें MMR भी आ जाती है। तो जब आप ये जेंडर डिस्क्रिमिनेशन की बात करते हैं तो फिर इस डेटा की ओर भी आप ध्यान दीजिएगा। मैं और आगे चल करके एज अडल्ट्स, एज यंग वुमेन, एज ओल्डर वुमेन, यू नो, देयर आर थिंग्स आप पेपर्स में पढ़ते होंगे कि अकेली महिला को प्रॉपर्टी हड़पने के लिए उसके साथ में क्राइम हुआ, विडोज हैं उनके साथ में हुआ। राजस्थान में एक नया एक्ट बनाया हमने 3 साल पहले, आई वॉज इन द विमेंस कमीशन एट दैट टाइम, यहाँ पर डायन डिक्लेयर करने की एक प्रथा बनती थी कि डायन बना दिया उसको, और खास तौर से ये अकेली महिलाएं उस तरह की होती थी। तो ये जेंडर डिस्क्रिमिनेशन से संबंधित चीजें हैं। आप लोगों ने इसमें वेज गैप को लेकर के बात की, मैं कहती हूँ कि इसको आप विमेन एंड एम्प्लॉयमेंट की बात करिए। हमारे यहाँ डेटा भी बहुत कम है। अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड सेक्टर में बहुत विमेन है, बहुत चाइल्ड लेबर भी लड़कियों का बहुत ज्यादा है, पर उसका भी डेटा अवेलेबल नहीं है। बट डोमेस्टिक लेबर, यू नो, दिस इंस्टीट्यूशन इंडियन काउंसिल ऑफ अप्लाइड इकोनॉमिक रिसर्च, उन लोगों ने 2019 में किया, क्योंकि हमारा विमेन्स पार्टिसिपेशन इन लेबर वो 3% घट गया था फ्रॉम 2016 टू 2018। पर बात ये है कि जो अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड सेक्टर में महिलाएं काम कर रही हैं उनका बहुत ह्यूज नंबर है। दूसरी चीज ये कि हम मोनेटाइजेशन उन चीजों का नहीं करते कि विमेन, आपने अपने रिसर्च में ये बताया कि विमेन हैव टू मैनेज ऑफिस और द वर्क एंड होम। जो घर में काम कर रही हैं, दे आर टेकिंग केयर ऑफ एल्डरली, दे आर टेकिंग केयर ऑफ चिल्ड्रन, दे आर कुकिंग, दे आर वॉशिंग, दे आर क्लीनिंग, उसका किसी तरह का कोई मोनेटाइजेशन नहीं होता है। यू गो टू जापान, जापान में गवर्नमेंट इज पेइंग दीज फैमिलीज, यू नो, जहाँ पर विमेन आर गोइंग आउट टू वर्क and when girls are married, they provide special subsidy for them so that they can keep a servant. And most Philippines women are migrating to Japan to work there, you know. So this kind of thing is not here in India. Of course, Women and Child Development Ministry is, they say we are doing this and that, and of course they are doing, but then there is a huge community of women in farming community. इन दिनों में किसान धरना लेकर के बैठे हुए हैं। यू डोंट सी, 2-4 फेसेस आपको दिख जाते हैं और टीवी पर आ जाते हैं, पर फार्मर सुसाइड कमिट कर रहे हैं। दिस इज अगेन अ मेल कंस्ट्रक्ट, हाँ, कि फार्मर आदमी है। महिलाएं 80% एग्रीकल्चर का काम करती हैं, पर उनको ना मार्केटिंग का, उन्हें वो मार्केटिंग नहीं कर पाती, ना वो पैसा रेज कर पाती है, ना लोन्स ले पाती हैं, जमीनें उनके नाम पर नहीं है। तो विमेन एंड प्रॉपर्टी, जो आपने वेज को लेकर के बात की, विमेन एंड प्रॉपर्टी जो है, दैट इज ऑल्सो वन ऑफ द इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग्स। देयर आर इम्पॉर्टेंट अमेंडमेंट्स। कंपनीज जो है कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर में, यू ऑट टू हैव 25% board members who have to be female. So they are coming in that, but entrepreneurs are very few. आपने women in institutions को लेकर के जब बात की, तो politics में women, you know, in Panchayati Raj, there are 50% women. In urban local bodies, in municipal bodies, there are 50% women. So, I mean, these are...
हम ना नया सेशन लेते हैं आपसे पूरा डिटेल वाला.
तो मैं बस खत्म कर रही हूँ आरती, क्योंकि ये थोड़ा सा ज्यादा हो गया.
You are explaining so good, but ये next वाली टीम जो है ना.
I know. I'm just finishing about this. Let me just congratulate and let me just tell you that please keep reading about it. And इसको खत्म मत करिए, इसको दोबारा से करिए. 15 दिन बहुत कम समय है इसका. और गर्ल चाइल्ड के बारे में, you know, Beijing conference took place in 1995 और ये साल 2020 था Beijing plus 25 का, और उसमें intergenerational equality की बात हो रही थी और हम भी उसमें involved थे. We had organized 6 conferences across the country और जून में हमें जाना भी था पेरिस, पर जा नहीं सके. पर आप लोग जो हैं इस intergenerational dialogue को आगे बढ़ाते रहिए. Let me congratulate you, Aarti, Uma ji, and everyone. And no questions to be asked.
Really good. I must congratulate Dashneet also. The kind of graphic she has made, the presentation was awesome. We have never seen such kind of things popping out during this presentation, that you have a new way to give the make the slides in this way. Okay, thank you very much. And Aparna ma'am, आपसे तो मतलब कि सेशन में
I didn't realize कि 5:17 हो गया है आरती, क्योंकि ये तो बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया. Of course, we started 15 minutes late.
That doesn't matter.
But nevertheless,
so thank you very much.
So much. Thank you, Drishti.
Very good insight for our next
Sakshi.
For our new generation, the younger lot. They have to be ambassador of sensitizing the students and other people around. Okay. So thank you very much. I would request all these team members to please leave this meeting, and then let me make the other team the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you.